Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. More Dead Man's Hand here. So we're going to take a look at a faction review here today. We've recently done the unboxing, so check our video out on that. But looking at the Plains Indians in more depth here. So as we mentioned in the unboxing, this is a faction where the sort of typical faction requirements as far as models go is kind of upended. You still have the chief as the mandatory and the most expensive model, but normally the elite unit for each faction would be a little bit more expensive and be better at shooting, but here we actually kind of upend that again. We actually have a cheaper model as our sort of elite guy, but it does something entirely different in this faction. That's the Medicine Man. And then normally the next in line would be kind of our average guys, which would be the, you'd have to take some of those. Here that's optional with 0 to 2 hunters. And then the sort of cheap end on this list is actually the mandatory one. So you have to have at least 2+ warriors regardless of what you're doing. But even then, again, some subtle things here. Literally everyone in the faction has at least 4 hits that they can take, whereas usually the cheap ones are the 3-hit guys for the factions. So you have that. Everyone also comes with a minimum +1 bonus in hand-to-hand. The hunters and the chief have the bonuses to shooting as well. Nerve tests are all pretty much fine as well. And then the Medicine Man and the Warriors are also only 2 rep apiece, which is kind of bonkers for as good as they actually still are. So let's see what's all going on here, because there's just a ton of weapon options as well, and different things versus the other factions. So hand-to-hand weapon and shield. So this bestows an additional +1 in hand-to-hand combat. This is in addition to any hand-to-hand bonuses on the profiles. So as we look here, it's basically the Medicine Man and the Warriors that would have those bonuses. So even though the Medicine Man is definitely, you want to keep him alive for his buffs, but he's already hitting at a +2 in combat as well, so that's pretty cool. Spear and shield. So this combination enables the character to attack from 2 centimeters away. Attacking with a spear is an action, like shooting, and may only be performed once per turn. It may be combined with other actions as normal. When the character gets within 2 centimeters of an enemy, he may fight in hand-to-hand. The opposing figure does not count as being in hand-to-hand for the purposes of moving, firing, etc. Characters with spears may still move into hand-to-hand combat as per normal combat rules as well. And again, the Warriors do have other hand-to-hand weapons as well. And then both characters roll as normal, and the Spearman gains a +1 for initiating. If the Spearman loses, he takes no underfire markers. So you have that as well. So you can basically get some free attacks in against the opponent and start whittling away. And ideally, you should still win most of those if the dice are cooperating. Now, these guys also have some other unique weapons. The bow. Now, it's considered a little bit a weaker shot. Any hit from a bow that would result in the underfire and nerve test is just treated as an underfire. So basically, it's a big range of underfire markers, and then finally the 20 would be the instant kill. But pretty good range on this as well. Again, this is in centimeters, but overall has very good range and can take 3 shots a turn as well. So up there with the pistol as far as quantity of shots. Knives and tomahawks as well. Only 1 per turn, very close range, but sort of like a pistol because you get a +2 bonus at short range for that. And then finally onto the Medicine Man. So the Medicine Man may choose to spend all 3 of his actions on a single dance. And so all Plains Indians in line of sight of the Medicine Man remove 1 under fire marker. So depending on where you have positioning that, being able to unlike a lot of other factions where you're just getting to like get 1 extra heal or 1 extra this or that action, here you can position strategically and basically if assuming all your guys are still alive, heal up to 6 other markers. So that's pretty bonkers. Yeah, taking off that much is pretty crazy. So it isn't clear here, but I would assume that you'd have to spend all 3 to get the dance effect. It's a little bit unclear. I think it would be grossly unfair if you could just, all 3 actions do 1 of each of the dances and just have that every turn. I think that would just be way too much for just a 2 rep guy. So unless somebody knows different, let us know in the comments though. But it would seem like you have to do all 3 for a single dance here. The war dance is pretty cool too. So again, in line of sight of him, another +1 hand-to-hand for the remainder of the turn. That's on top of all the other stuff. So all the guys have the built-in +1. If you do the hand-to-hand weapon and shield, so like Medicine Man and Warriors, you have that extra +1 there. And then essentially for the other warriors, you can give them another buff on top of it, so they're hitting at +3s. The chief would get a +3 just because he's already at +2. So there's lots and lots of cool stuff there. And then finally, the hunting dance, buff your shooting attacks. So for those who do have the bows, and if you have the like the throwing knives and stuff like that, tomahawks, which again is just about everybody. So just really really nasty stuff that this army can do. So they're not overly focused on ranged, but suddenly you can buff your whole army, and if you're in the right positions, you can just suddenly be pretty good at shooting, assuming again the dice cooperate. Obviously they're already killer in combat, and then being able to just heal the faction at large can be crucial, especially if the opponent's already struggling and you're just able to sort of en masse take off a whole bunch of tokens. That's pretty powerful stuff too. So again, we get our summary cards here. They actually give us 2, so just front and back, but super handy to have. And then last but not least, let's take a look at their cards, because these are also unique to the faction and bring some cool stuff to the table for you guys. So if we get this kind of lined up here, eventually, get this cooperate. So all pretty potent cards. Medicine Wheel is a nice one. When one of your models is taken out of action, remove the Medicine Man from the table instead. The original model remains in play with no under fire markers. So like that's kind of an ace in the hole part, pun intended here, but or jack in the hole to keep in your hand. If you're be super aggressive with your chief, and if they're about to take him out, and the opponent's like, oh yay, hey, we took out the chief, boom, slap this down, get rid of the Medicine Man, and the chief comes back fresh, which is already pretty nasty, and just let the chief continue on a rampage there. That's pretty potent now. Again, the only risk you run is, of course, if the opponent's holding one of a jack as well to counter it, but that is pretty bonker, so it's like essentially a free resurrection for one of your characters. So definitely can stymie the opponent if it's played at an opportune time. Ghost Dance, play this card at any time for the remainder of the turn for the purpose of shooting. Penalties for movement count as doubled. So it's a nice way of, if you're up against a faction that's just, got a lot of long range stuff or just in a really good position shooting wise, this will help you get closer. Because if you can just kind of skip the shooting on your part, and if they've got to move, great, double their moving penalties, which might entice them to stay put. So it's a situational card, but can have some good effects. Great Hunt, play after a model has performed all their actions. They can perform an additional action and overrides any rate of fire restrictions. So, hey, you could throw knives or tomahawks a second time, or, get that 4th bow shot if you're really looking for it. So it's really cool abilities there. But in just in case, another action period. So, again, it's another move, it's another combat, whatever it might be. So really potent stuff as well. And then finally, Vision Quest is another interesting one at the ace spot. Play at any time. Nominate one model, friend or foe. You may reroll any dice that affect this model for the remainder of the turn. The Plains Indian player chooses whether to reroll any dice. So it's a great defensive buff in the sense that you have it for yourself on one of yours, or if you play it on an opposing model, you can choose which dice. If they're forced to roll dice for any reason, like nerve tests, hand to hand, and they're successful, right, then you just force them to reroll, and hopefully that they fail. So it's situational, but again, at the right time could be pretty potent. So that's the Plains Indian faction. So it was really surprising in the sense that with all the stuff we got, but it's pretty cool because it definitely expands the game in a fun way and adds a whole lot of new stuff in the form of army composition and weapons and just abilities that they have, and kind of forces you to definitely think thoroughly through your game plan if you're going up against these guys and what they can do. So definitely want to stay out of combat with them. Even some of the other factions that have some combat bonuses, I don't think really would hold up to these guys in the long run. So, but let us know your thoughts on the Plains Indians as far as faction abilities go. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll have more for you soon.